Had nothing to do with the players. Unfortunately, they were the ones to suffer as fan and media interest dropped off dramatically. Only about 1,500 watched the Boots defeat the Marlborough Shamrocks yesterday afternoon, and that's too bad, because despite bad weather conditions, it might have been the most entertaining game played at Lansdowne this year. If you haven't seen quarterback Rod Moores hook up with wide receiver Jamie Straw, then you're really missing something. The Bootleggers play Brooklyn at Lansdowne Park this Saturday afternoon. If they win, they're in the final, and they really deserve our support. At Sports, I'm Brian Smith.
And going downtown. If transportation planners have their way, we may be going further.
The Bootleggers are. However, there are some shell-shocked football teams in the United States who are still trying to figure it out. They just can't understand how a bunch of Canadians playing on an American-sized field under American rules have beaten the best the United States can field. Nancy Rose reports.
The guys are getting ready for the big playoff game.
Line up right on his hip. Set. Hold.
They make up the best Canadian team in the Minor League Football Alliance. It's also the only Canadian team. But the Ottawa Bootleggers are also the #1 ranked team among all the American teams, playing NFL rules on an American-sized field.
They say we're going to kick this Canadian team back over the border, and it's a lot of fun because before the game they're all razzing us, and you know, after the game they can't believe it. They're all shaking their heads, and you know, we're just laughing. A lot of the guys like to wear little Canadian flags on their helmets and stuff just to rub it in a little bit, you know.
3 weeks ago, the CFL's Ottawa Rough Riders limped off the playing field with only 4 wins. 1 year ago, Sports Illustrated picked them as the worst professional team in any sport on the North American continent.
49, will you call the police?
On the same playing field where the Riders saw defeat after defeat, the team in green from Boston is about to enter what bootlegger fans call Death Valley. The Bootleggers have not been beaten this season.
Canadian team kicking ass. That's what it is.
In the opening minutes, receiver Jamie Straw scampers 95 yards for a touchdown. He's a star with the Bootleggers, but he was cut by the Riders during training camp 2 years ago.
There's a lot of guys on their team that the CFL could be using, but I guess there's 46 full-time coaches in the CFL, and if you want to do a story, find out how many are Canadian. It's a Canadian Football League, and they come up here, run our league, and they let us play in it.
The hometown boys play well. They sell well, too. On a day when it isn't snowing, the Bootleggers have been known to pull in almost 9,000 fans.
And we have people that we know on the team. They're an Ottawa team, and we've been supporting them for 2 years now, and they're great. How can you get any better? The CFL don't compare to minor football. It's all Canadian.
And the thing that makes the Bootleggers unique is it's all hometown boys. Fans like that. It's not like the CFL where they bring in Joe Blow from somewhere down in Texas, and then after the season gone, he's gone.
Here comes 6 more, Boston boys! Here comes 6 more!
So, as the CFL comes up to its annual East-West Classic, with plummeting numbers of TV viewers and financially troubled franchises, Canadians take part. The American League Championships have come to Canada's capital, and a bunch of hometown boys could win it all. Nancy Rose, CBC News, Ottawa.
Now, you want to see the Bootleggers? Tomorrow afternoon, they'll play a sudden death semifinal game against the Brooklyn Mariners. It's at Lansdowne Park, and it starts at...
Stories today continue to draw the crowds. As John Ruddle reports, the Bootleggers' great play on the field is matched by enthusiastic yet strange behavior by their fans.
To most people, a day like this is regarded as miserable. It is cold, snowing, and sitting for hours watching a football game makes these conditions harder to take. But as the Ottawa Bootleggers romp the visiting team from Brooklyn, New York, these fans aren't feeling the chill. Like the eccentric team of players on the field, these fans are a rare breed. 2,100 supporters have come out to watch what they call a tougher game of football. What brings you out on such a cold day to watch the Bootleggers?
Plus, we want a team to play ball, and we got a team here that plays ball versus the other one that doesn't. That's why I'm here.
No, we're still Rider fans. Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. I think we should replace them with the Bootleggers. Let's do what I did all year. There's a good reason for this team's peculiar popularity. Most of these guys are from Ottawa, and most of these fans are friends and family. If you don't believe these fans are weird, wait until you see them cheer on the snow removal equipment. Ask these people whether they would rather watch the Grey Cup in the climate-controlled Sky Dome, and they'd tell you it's not real football, and it's certainly not bootlegger football. Sean Ruddle, CJOH News.
Ottawa's...
There's never a dull moment with bootlegger football, and now they're in the battle with the commissioner of the U.S. Minor League Football Alliance over the right to host the championship game at Lansdowne this weekend. The controversy was started by the Brooklyn Mariners, who were beaten 42-14 by the Bootleggers in the semifinal at icy Lansdowne Park Saturday afternoon. Brooklyn has protested the game, claiming the Bootleggers used industrial staples in their shoes, giving them an unfair advantage. The Boots admit they tried the staples in the warm-up, but claim they disregarded them because they were too uncomfortable. They claim they're victims of a conspiracy.
Definitely is more to it. Racine, who is the defending national champ, that's where the commissioner's from, he's under incredible political pressure to have the national championship back in Racine. They just can't handle us going to the dance and leaving with their girl. And we've earned the right to be at home, and as far as I'm concerned, we're going to be at home. The whole thing is just a big non-issue. If it wasn't this, it'd be something else. It was a farce. During the game, we were the ones who were checking in their shoes. They had some people with track spikes on, and they changed them at halftime because they knew we were onto them. If we had stuff in the bottom of our shoes, I really don't think we'd be going to the referees asking to check the shoes.
Well, stay tuned on that one. Meanwhile, in Saskatchewan, the celebration
perspective with this report from Terry Walker. Football in Canada this season. We've got a championship game of our own in Ottawa, thanks to the Bootleggers. Now, last Saturday afternoon at Lansdowne Park, the Bootleggers beat the Brooklyn Mariners 42-14 in the sudden death sentence final. The Bootleggers are truly #1. They have a record of 12 wins and no losses. They now advance to the final against Racine, Wisconsin. That game will be played on the weekend, but it may not be in Ottawa. Now, the Bootleggers earn the right to play the championship here, but that doesn't sit well with the team from Wisconsin. And Mike White, the coach of the Ottawa Bootleggers, is standing by to explain what is going on right now. Mike, what's happening? What's Racine coming up with? And what can they really have to prove that they shouldn't play the game in Ottawa this weekend?
It sort of goes back to when you're in grade 4, whoever owned the ball said, unless I'm the quarterback, well, we're not going to play. They're going on the assumption that they're the defending national champions. They have questions about the weather conditions, the field markings, you name it. They didn't think that there would be us and them. They thought it was going to be Brooklyn and them. We really did a job on Brooklyn. We beat them 42-14 in Brooklyn earlier in the year, beat Racine 10-0. I think we shocked everyone except ourselves. And now Racine is, immediately after the game, they had 3 of their coaches here, and they started talking about, oh, the game's got to be in Racine. It's juvenile, it's childish, and the fact of the matter is the commissioner of the association...
Okay, you're getting to the... I was going to ask you about that. You know, if the team says we don't want to play, but they have no say in this, it has to come from the league, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, the thing is, to complicate matters, the Brooklyn team, who we destroyed, they're claiming that we used staples on their shoes. The only way they heard about that...
Did you use staples?
Well, we tried them out in the pregame warm-up. They didn't work. As a matter of fact, they went right through the soles of some guy's shoes and gave him sort of a hot foot. So they weren't an issue during the game. We didn't use them during the game.
When are you going to find out whether that game will be played in Ottawa this Saturday?
Hopefully in the next 24 hours. The thing is, you know, Brooklyn lodging a protest. They would love to have the game declared a forfeit and them to play Racine.
But you're not going to back out of this game, are you?
No bloody way.
Okay, if it's not in Ottawa, where will it be played?
I don't care. If it's on the surface of the moon, we'll play it. We're going to beat these guys no matter where we play. We're a better team, and we're not going to be denied. They're scared. You should have seen their faces after the game. They were in shock. They'd never seen a defensive exhibition like ours. and if Brooklyn wants to claim Staples or whatever, bottom line is we played smarter. When we kicked off to them, we kicked to the corner of the field into the ice. They kicked off to us, it was down the middle. We just ran it right back up their throats down the middle where there was some traction.
Mike, maybe it doesn't help being the only Canadian team in that American League.
Well, I'm sure.
A little jealousy, do you think?
Oh, a lot of jealousy. They can't handle it.
Okay, Mike. Okay, thanks a lot. Well, I think you can handle it on the weekend.
I hope so. We'll kick the rear ends. You'll see.
Okay. Good luck, Mike. Thank you very much. And that's sports.
Very cocky. Very confident. Very, but you need that in this kind of sport.
Well, that's an interesting story to follow. We'll see what happens tomorrow.
The trade between the two teams is to be determined, and one of them was to be held this weekend here in the capital. The Ottawa Bootleggers were to have played host to the U.S. Minor League Football Alliance title game, but for now it's still in limbo as the league's commissioner has put their plans on hold.
The controversy was started by the Brooklyn Mariners, who were beaten 42-14 by the Bootleggers in the semifinal at icy Lansdowne Park Saturday afternoon. Brooklyn has protested the game, claiming the Bootleggers used industrial staples in their shoes, giving them an unfair advantage. The Boots admit they tried the staples in the warm-up, but claim they disregarded them because they were too uncomfortable. They claim they're victims of a conspiracy.
Definitely is more to it. Racine, who is the defending national champ, and that's where the commissioner's from, he's under incredible political pressure to have the national championship back in Racine. They just can't handle us going to the dance and leaving with their girl. And we've earned the right to be at home, and as far as I'm concerned, we're going to be at home. The whole thing is just a big non-issue. If it wasn't this, it'd be something else. It was a farce. During the game, we were the ones who were checking their shoes. They had some people with track spikes on, and they changed them at halftime because they knew we were onto them. If we had stuff in the bottom of our shoes, I really don't think we'd be going to the referees asking to check the shoes.
It's a schedule. Bootleggers and the Brooklyn Mariners, and the final score was the Bootleggers 42, the Mariners 14. Brian Smith was at the game, and he had this report when it was all over.
2,173 fans braved sub-zero temperatures, and it didn't take long for the Boots to give them something to cheer about. A familiar combination, quarterback Rod Moores to wide receiver Jamie Straw for a 35-yard major, 7-0 early in the first quarter. A couple of turnovers led to the Brooklyn Mariners' first touchdown. On the 8th try from inside the 5-yard line, Frank Bianchini finally took it over at 7-all. Ottawa went ahead at 7:28 of the second quarter when Moores hooked up with wide receiver Steve Lalonde, 14-7 at the half. The Brutes broke it open in the third. Moores hit Straw for an 86-yard touchdown, then ran it in himself from 35 yards out. All of a sudden, it's 28-7. Brooklyn cut that margin by 7 in the fourth quarter with a 14-yard major by Rich Visco, but it didn't matter because on the ensuing kickoff, Mike SHEARON went 85 yards for a touchdown, thanks to a great block by Jamie Straub, and that put the game out of reach. The final score, Ottawa 42, Brooklyn 14. The Bootleggers are in the final of the United States Minor League Football Alliance, and they'll play Racine, Wisconsin here at Lansdowne Park next weekend. From Lansdowne, Brian Smith, CJOA Sports.
Of course, the question is now, will they indeed be playing the Racine Wolverines at Lansdowne Park this weekend coming? Because, and this is the other headline in the paper this morning, under fire from those same Wolverines. Mike White is the coach, and ALEX-SAUNDERS the general manager of the Bootleggers. Gentlemen, Alex, let me begin with you, because as the GM, you're probably on the phone daily about this thing. What are the Wolverines saying? They're crying foul.
Well, it's not so much them, it's the Mariners. They're crying foul. They're claiming we used illegal footwear in the game last Saturday, which is not the case. A few of the players were experimenting with putting staples in the bottoms of their shoes, and found it completely ineffective. They were experimenting in the warm-up time. And besides that, they went right through the soles of their shoes and punctured their feet, so they soon got rid of that. And so the thing is just a rhubarb to raise a controversy, I think, to get us out of it, because it might be unsavory to have Canadians winning an American title.
Both of you fellows can look me in the eye and say there were no staples used in the shoes of any Ottawa Bootleggers last weekend?
No, none. A bunch of guys tried them in the warm-up, didn't work. Anyone watching the game, or anyone who's even looking at the clips, Brooklyn right after the game were saying, "Hey, you got a hell of a team. You really kicked there." Yeah. And the reason we beat them, is, aside from the fact we're better, is we're smarter. When we kicked off to the corner of the fields where it was icy. When they kicked off right down the middle, gave it right to our returner and just went straight. They just didn't use their heads. All their pass patterns, they tried to run outs to the sidelines where it was very icy. And if anyone saw how we scored, it was just with patterns where you just run straight, or when we're running posts into the middle of the field where there was better traction. So
you guys represent probably the purest love of any sport that exists. You do it for no money. You take those long, cursely bus trips. You leave families and friends on the weekends. You work out. You know, you're doing it with half all heart and half a pocketbook. And yet, this league, and you yourselves were involved in controversy a little earlier, it seems like the Wolverines just don't want the bus trip. It seems like you don't want to go there. I mean...
Well, what's happening... Okay, it's the Racine Raiders.
I'm sorry, the Raiders.
We just beat the Brooklyn Mariners, and we're supposed to play the Racine Raiders. They don't want to come here. 3 of their coaches were at the game. Their head coach came up to me after the game and said, "We've never seen a team like you before." They're scared to death. You can see it. I mean, they just don't want to come here. They think that the only hope in Hades that they have is if the game is played down there. Then they claim that, "Oh, we never knew you were ranked #1." I mean, it's just a big farce. As far as the Mariners, well, they're the ones who had improper footwear. We were complaining to the refs about their footwear, so they changed them at halftime. The whole thing is just manufactured. Racine Raiders and the Brooklyn Mariners are 2 of the top football teams in the U.S., and historically it's been like that for the last 10 years. Now, the whole thing, I imagine they thought it was going to be a replay of last year's final, Brooklyn and Racine.
Yeah.
And there was no problem until all of a sudden, here's little Ottawa, comes out of nowhere and just beats the living daylights out of
You really
Brooklyn.
didn't come out of nowhere. You guys were around last year and terribly successful, and this year...
Yeah, well, see, last year we ended up ranked 9th in the top 10, and the top 8 were involved in national playoffs. And this year, luckily, you know, things worked out, and we're undefeated, and we get the #1 ranking, and that means home advantage. However, Racine, it's like when you're in grade 4, you know, it's my ball, I get to play quarterback, or I'm going home. We can't make these guys come up.
But whose league is it? Who's got the clout here? If they decide they're not coming, what happens then?
Well, then they have to forfeit, and we'll be declared national champions. But I don't want to back into a national championship. I'm not Carl Lewis, you know. To us, we earn the right to kick their rear ends. And I'm issuing a challenge. If anyone from the U.S. Embassy is watching, get on the phone, because you're a bunch of chickens. Get your rear ends up here. Your whole country is based on a myth. We've kicked your rear ends in pretty much every sport that we've done. Hockey, you're useless. Football, you're overrated. You come up here, you're second class. Canadians are what the CFL is all based on. You Americans down there in Racine, come on up here. We got something for you.
What a challenge.
It sounds like WWF, I know. Okay, but the main thing is we want these guys here. We've earned the right, and they're afraid to come up here. They start whining about the field conditions, the length of the field. It's been all right all year. In the quarterfinals, the Boston team admitted we're a better team. They had no problem with the field. This is just a big smokescreen to attempt to either back out of having to come up here and play us, or to get their game switched down there. Well, it's just not going to happen. You know, they're a bunch of chickens.
Wow. Alex, what do you do next year? I must say, if I heard a criticism of the Bootleggers beyond that one bad time you had, was that you are kicking everybody's butt, and it's time to get some bigger and better and tougher competition. Is it there? I mean, you can't be beating everybody 14-14, 42-14 forever. You've got to get better competition. Is it available?
Well, I think that the reputation we're building will attract the better teams. They want to play us to prove something to themselves and others. I mean, you know, good, solid teams that have some integrity behind them will want to play us. Hopefully, they're close enough that it's financially feasible for us to get there, for them to get here.
There is a step up then from the teams you've been playing.
No. There might be some better teams lurking there, and also our example might bring up the standard of others. To be honest, we might be imitated, and that's all right. And I think we're worth imitating.
From a dollars and cents perspective, can you survive?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's tough, but we can survive. We're putting... this thing has grown so much that we had no idea that it would grow the way it has.
Yeah.
So now we have to get out of the front part or trunk of your car kind of operation and get more business-like about things, and with all the economies that requires to pull it off.
If the riders turn the corner, and there's every threat they will next year, is that going to hurt you or help you?
No, I don't think so. We're complementary to them. We're filling in a level, a strata that was a vacuum before. And I say we're part of the football community that's filling that vacuum and doing a very good job. And it gives the it gives a store window for the Rough Riders to look at some talent.
Yeah.
And it so happens that they're all Ottawa guys right now, just about.
Yeah.
But all those potentials are there. We are not in any way rivals to the Rough Riders. They're not rivals to us. We're part of the football community.
So, Mike, the challenge is on.
Challenge is on. Let's see if they pick up the gauntlet.
The Racine Raiders this weekend, Lansdowne. Is it Saturday or Sunday?
It'll be Saturday.
Saturday afternoon. What time?
It'll be 1 o'clock.
Well, just like Randy Sexton says, when we get the franchise, you can say, when the game. 1 o'clock, Saturday, Lansdowne. Yeah. Thousands will be out. Yeah. The lovely Elizabeth will be in your corner.
Oh, no, I don't think we need lovely Elizabeth. I think they're just going to need to bring a lot of body bags if they show up.
Gentlemen,
no prisoners.
Good luck. Thank you so much. We'll be right back. Don't run away. Special guests were to have been on the program this morning was because of this.
However, the Bootleggers where the final game of the American Alliance football season will be played. The Bootleggers thought they'd be playing at home, but their opponents from Racine, Wisconsin aren't in the traveling mood. Tim May has the story.
The Bootleggers say they're just protecting their turf, and it's the rug at Lansdowne they want to play on next weekend. Ottawa says it's earned the home field advantage by being the top-ranked team in the American Alliance Football League. The trouble is, no one else expected them to be there.
They thought it was going to be Brooklyn and them. We really did a job on Brooklyn. We beat them 42-14 in Brooklyn earlier in the year, beat Racine 10-0. I think we shocked everyone except ourselves. And now Racine is, immediately after the game, they had 3 of their coaches here, and they started talking about, oh, the game's got to be in Racine.
The Bootleggers are scheduled to meet the Racine Raiders for the championship, but Racine would rather stay in, well, Racine, Wisconsin to play the game. They say they've earned the right because they are the defending champions. But East or West, Wisconsin or Ottawa, the Bootleggers say the only detail that matters is who wins.
If it's on the surface of the moon, we'll play it. We're going to beat these guys no matter where we play. We're a better team, and we're not going to be denied. They're scared. You should have seen their faces after the game. They were in shock.
Staples in their shoes in last Saturday's win over Brooklyn were dropped today. The league's commissioner says the final game will be played in Ottawa, likely Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock. And now the Bootleggers and the other finalists, Racine, Wisconsin, are negotiating on the details. A new boys' high school
baseball spoke to a group of Bring Back the Senators supporters at a luncheon in the played in Ottawa after all. Racine, Wisconsin will make the trip here, and they'll play at Lansdowne Park Saturday afternoon at 1. The game Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock. The team from the States had been trying to get the game moved to their home park in Racine, and to head coach of the Beast.
The host one either. It will cost the Bootleggers between $15,000 and $18,000 to stage the U.S. Minor League Football Alliance final. They'll play Racine, Wisconsin at Lansdowne Park Saturday afternoon. The Bootleggers play football for fun. There's no money to be made, and the same is true for the coaching staff. Until a month ago, the offensive line was the responsibility of ALEX-SAUNDERS. It still is, but now he has additional responsibilities.
And I'm not sure about the tickets going to
The 61-year-old Saunders, a retired military and public servant, assumed the general manager's duties after a crisis in late October, and now it's almost a full-time job.
It's a little bit like mopping up the floor with a tap running, in a sense. The phone rings all the time. There's decisions to be made, and nobody to talk to about them, so you do the best thing, and common sense has to prevail.
There's hotel rooms to be booked and tickets to be sold and press releases to be written, and a myriad of other things for Saunders to worry about, but his biggest concern is the shape of the field here at Lansdowne Park on Saturday afternoon. And Lansdowne Park officials are doing their best to make it playable.
This ice here, surface here, this is what we're confronted with. We're trying to get rid of it. By backloading with the loader, we're crystallizing the snow and makes it a couple more back drag, and it comes out to the surface.
Any chemicals you use or anything to get the ice off?
Well, we've got a fertilizer that will supposedly melt the ice without damaging the turf itself.
Meanwhile, it's just another thing for ALEX-SAUNDERS to worry about. A member of the Ottawa Rough Riders in 1949, Saunders sees a similarity between the players of his era and the Bootleggers of today.
Improbable mix of people as far as how they make their living, and that's how they were in 1949 when I played. And these guys, I guess they're a throwback. They're a Jekyll and Hyde mix, and they're a fun bunch and great people to work with.
Went out to capture the mounting excitement.
They haven't posted the big Bootleggers game on the billboard at Lansdowne Park yet. They're afraid too much advertising and the crowds could get right out of hand. The hoopla is kind of reminiscent of that other football championship in the city last year. The Grey Cup, remember? Now, everywhere you look in the city, it's bootleggers, bootleggers, bootleggers. The hype is at fever pitch. Joanne, you've seen the ticket scalpers on the street. You've seen the bootleggers, souvenir hawkers. Doesn't it make you just a little bit jealous?
Oh, I'm so jealous. I mean, I sit in my office right out here on Bank Street, and I can't get any work done because of the noise and the hoopla. And I tell you, these are rowdy fans too. I've never seen so many people wear black. I mean, look at, I'm even wearing black today, and I am really jealous.
Yeah.
I can't wait till the day that we're in a championship.
Yeah, what do you feel about those bootleggers?
Kick butt.
Advanced ticket sales are brisk. The lineups are already forming. Go get 'em, bootleggers. Hello.
And as you can see, the field here at Lansdowne Park is in top championship shape. It's practically like summer. Who says we need a sky dome?
Torty here sells bootleggers souvenirs, and he sells, they're just selling like hotcakes. How many you sold today, Lou?
3.
300 you mean, eh, Lou?
No, 3.
Like I said, they're selling like hotcakes. Thanks, Lou. We'll see you later.
Now, you may not feel like getting caught up in all the hoopla, but come on, have a heart. The bootleggers have. They've finally given this city something to cheer about. And some last-minute, serious advice. Get here early. These seats are starting to go like crazy. Come on, folks, let's practice our bootleggers cheer. Go, bootleggers, go! Mark Van Dusen, CBC News, Ottawa!
Oh, my.
Well, he's going to have lots of company come Saturday. You know that those bootlegger fans, they don't want to get cold too early. And tomorrow on Newsday, Nancy Rose is going to introduce us to 3 of the bootlegger players and what they do in their real jobs, because, of course, the pay on the bootleggers team is a little bit low.
It'll probably look something like the scene you just saw, because they'll all be sitting a long way away from Mark. They'll have him over in one little corner of the stadium somewhere.
Yeah, he loves those outside jobs at a cold day. And
Yeah.
Lansdowne Park, right on Bank Street, right in front. That's where Eddie Friel lived, and the whole of Lansdowne Park was...
Oh, it is the big day. At 1 o'clock, a bunch of hometown boys will try to beat the Americans at their own game. The Ottawa Bootleggers will play for the championship of the Amateur Football League Alliance. Every other team in the league is American. The Ottawa Bootleggers will play for the championship, and the players don't do it for money. So why do they play, and why do they win? Nancy Rose tried to find out.
It's not quite the coldest night of the year, but it's definitely the slipperiest. Despite the ice, the Ottawa Bootleggers are doing their very best to chase football history.
High, strong right, 126 on 2 on 2. Ready?
So who are these guys who could become the first Canadian team ever to win an American football championship? When center Tim Saunders isn't crunching bones on the offensive line, he's crunching numbers at Coopers and Lybrand.
So I thought he wanted me to be the treasurer because I'm an accountant. But he said, no, Tim, I want you to play. I want you to do the long snaps and see what happens. I wasn't too crazy about it at first, and I went out, and the next thing you know, they said, well, you might as well learn a few plays while you're here. And next thing you know, I was starting a couple of games.
Yes, folks, strip away the helmet and the pads, and you'll find an accountant underneath.
There's a certain confidence level that you have when you're part of a winning team, and you have an attitude that things are always going to work out somehow, that you'll find a way, or that if things are down, that you're going to come out on top. So I guess it does come out to the office and into your lifestyle.
We are saying that the bus.
That's a tough one. Segregation.
At St. Mark's in Manotick, Paul Brown has his own team of bootleggers in the making. He's a teacher, and a school trustee, and a linebacker.
You have to work yourself mentally, and you have to work yourself spiritually and also physically. And playing for the Bootleggers is the physical component. It's a great release, and it's good to get out with the guys.
Finally, here's a guy who comes a little closer to the image. Linebacker Mike Morris manages the fitness store, and this week he hopes to celebrate both a championship and the birth of his first child. What happens if the baby comes on Saturday?
That's a loaded question. I'm not sure. It all depends on how far my wife's along in the labor.
So, AJ, you'll have to hold it up?
Exactly. Yeah. Just hold off. She'll do it for me. She's a good woman.
This is the last time we're all going to be together for a game. This is it. There's no more chances. It's all come down to one game.
The Bootleggers are stockbrokers, Green Hornets, mechanics, surveyors, geophysicists, and accountants. And somehow, they've all come together to form Ottawa's most successful team.
We're not just playing for Ottawa, it's for Canada. The only Canadian team in history to ever beat the Americans at supposedly their own game.
Does that mean something to you?
It means everything to me.
When we're in the huddle there and the team's threatening to score, all the eyes are looking at each other and everyone believes, okay, well, I'm just going to do my job and the next person will do his and we'll collectively will stop them. And to date, we've been very successful.
Nancy Rose, CBC News, with Brown's Bootleggers in Manotick.
Bootleggers are #1! Go, Mr. Brown!
Yeah. Well, good luck to the Bootleggers.
Yeah, 1 o'clock tomorrow, rain or shine or blizzards. And Vic Hultquist is here with sports, and the Bootleggers aren't the only game in town.
That's right, and it's getting down to the crunch at the all.
Dig out your warmest clothes and get out and cheer the Ottawa Bootleggers on. They're playing Racine, Wisconsin for the U.S. Minor Football Alliance title. The Bootleggers aren't from California, Idaho, or Tennessee. They're Canadian. They're local guys from this area, from Ottawa, Gloucester, Nepean, and Canada. There's probably one living down your street or in the same building. They don't make any money from football. They play for fun, and they do it well. 12 wins, no losses so far this year. It's costing the Bootleggers around $20,000 to hold the final here. They need and they deserve our support. I'm Brian Smith.
Blowing snow warnings, and there we have the Bootleggers playing football in this kind of weather.
It's ridiculous, and go through all that and lose, I'm telling you. This is what you get, in fact, for scheduling football games in early December. The Bootleggers and Racine Raiders hooked up today in the North American Minor Semi-Pro Football Championship game, and as you can imagine, it was a chilling and, for the Boots, disappointing experience. We have the highlights. My apologies for that. Evidently, we have the wrong tape. We will get to those highlights, so stay tuned. We'll have the highlights of the Bootleggers' 15-13 loss to Racine. 15-13, the final for Racine in today's championship game.
The Bootleggers always boast of being tough, but there's no one tougher than the estimated crowd of 6,000 who braved absolutely frigid conditions to watch this ball game. Now, to make matters even worse, they had to wait half an hour for the game to get going, Racine refusing to play till the Bootleggers put their expense money in the bank. How's that for trust? Now, the field was covered with snow and ice, still a familiar combination hooks up for the first score of the day. Rod Morris to Jamie Straw. He gets in behind the secondary and goes 62 yards for the touchdown. It's 7-0. The Raiders came into this matchup with a 12-1 one-loss record, and here's why. Running back Les White breaking through for an 80-yard run. He makes it into the end zone, but the cover is blocked. The Boots still lead at 7-6. It stayed that way till the final minute of the half. Racine moving out front on a 35-yard field goal by Steve Saunert. They led it 9-7 at the intermission. Late in the third quarter, Ottawa bounces back. After a fumble recovery, Mark Brown gets it in from the 2. They miss the extra point, but lead 13-9. Early in the fourth, the Raiders regain the lead for good. Quarterback Charlie Bliss connecting with number 81, Ron Doherty, for a 65-yard touchdown. Once again, the convert is missed, making it 15-13. And the Bootleggers had several chances to move the ball back downfield, but up against a gale-like wind, the going was just a bit too tough, and the Raiders hold on for the 2-point win, 15-13, the final score.
Rod, your touchdown made the difference. Explain the play to me. It was very similar to one earlier in the game.
It was very similar to it. We noticed that they were playing a lot of double zone coverage, and they were leaving the middle open. So you kind of squeeze inside behind the linebackers. There's a seam there. And luckily, everybody else cleared out, did their jobs, and the field was open.
Give me your reaction to winning.
I'll go to Disneyland.
Great game, but they came up a little bit short.
Too bad. Thanks, Dan. There's more to come when...
Today, so Hannah, the local football season came to an end this snowy Saturday at Lansdowne Park.
The Ottawa Bootleggers hosted the Racine, Wisconsin Raiders for the North American Minor Football Alliance Championship. Dan Sagan has the details.
The Bootleggers always boast of being tough, but there's no one tougher than the estimated crowd of 6,000 who braved absolutely frigid conditions to watch this ball game. Now, to make matters even worse, they had to wait half an hour for the game to get going, Racine refusing to play till the Bootleggers put their expense money in the bank. How's that for trust? Now, the field was covered with snow and ice, still a familiar combination hooks up for the first score of the day. Rod Morris to Jamie Straw. He gets in behind the secondary and goes 62 yards for the touchdown. It's 7-0. The Raiders came into this matchup with a 12-1 one-loss record, and here's why. Running back Les White breaking through for an 80-yard run. He makes it into the end zone, but the cover is blocked. The Boots still lead at 7-6. It stayed that way till the final minute of the half. Racine moving out front on a 35-yard field goal by Steve Saunert. They led it 9-7 at the intermission. Late in the third quarter, Ottawa bounces back. After a fumble recovery, Mark Brown gets it in from the 2. They miss the extra point, but lead 13-9. Early in the fourth, the Raiders regain the lead for good. Quarterback Charlie Bliss connecting with number 81, Ron Doherty, for a 65-yard touchdown. Once again, the convert is missed, making it 15-13. Now, the Bootleggers had several chances to move the ball back downfield, but up against a gale-like wind, the going was just a bit too tough, and the Raiders hold on for the 2-point win, 15-13 the final score.
Ron, your touchdown made the difference. Explain the play to me. It was very similar to one earlier in the game.
It was very similar to it. We noticed that they were playing a lot of double zone coverage, and they were leaving the middle open. So you kind of squeeze inside behind the linebackers. There's a seam there. And luckily, everybody else cleared out, did their job, and the field was open.
Give me your reaction to winning.
I'm going to Disneyland.
They overall have a class organization, and they came up here to play a fine football game. And we lost to a very good team. That's all there's to it. I think they did a good job when they were against the wind of eating up the clock, so we didn't get to use the wind. And then when they did have the wind, they made the most of it. So overall, a very good, solid football team. You got to hand it number 11. The quarterback did a very good job, and number 81 played a very good game for them too. So overall, hey, they're a good, solid team. You got to take your hat off to them.
Many of them threw their support behind a local team of little-known North American Football League. Today, fans braved minus 25-degree temperatures to see the Ottawa Bootleggers take on their American rival for the championship. Chris Goldrick reports.
These guys don't get paid for this. Some are ex-pros who couldn't quite make it. Others are kids who wanted somewhere to play after college. They play for fun, and this season has been a lot of fun. Just 2 years after joining the North American Minor Football League Alliance, the Ottawa Bootleggers beat every one of their American opponents and finished first in their division.
We're number 1. We're going to kick these guys' butts. That's it. That's all. Game over.
Today, the Leggers, as their fans call them, faced their biggest test. They played the defending champs, Wisconsin Racine Raiders, for the North American Championship. Not only were the conditions terrible, but the turf looked more like an ice rink than a football field. The wind was howling, but a little weather doesn't bother Bootlegger faithful. These are special fans.
It's about minus 25 degrees with the wind chill factor. It's snowing like crazy, and we've got about 6,000 fans up there. They've got to be nuts.
They insist they're not crazy. They're just incredibly loyal. Many of them say they're fed up with the Canadian Football League's Ottawa Rough Riders, who once again had a losing season. Everyone loves a winner.
It's freezing, but it's beautiful. Unreal. Too much.
The atmosphere is unbelievable. You couldn't ask for a better atmosphere. This is what football is all about.
They're the best fans in the world, yeah!
The Bootlegger fans may be the best, but today their team wasn't. The Bootleggers led for a large part of the game, but ended up losing 15-13.
We could have done it, we didn't. My hat's off to Racine. They played a heck of a football game.
Even though the team lost this game, one thing they'll probably never lose are some of the most faithful fans in Ottawa. They say next year, the cup will come to Canada. Chris Goldrick, CBC News, Ottawa.
I didn't think anything of it like that.
Downtown Park for 3.5 hours, despite the worst weather conditions in memory. I couldn't believe it. The temperature was minus 15, but with the wind chill factor, it had to be more like 40 below. Yet there they were, cheering the Bootleggers on, making more noise than most crowds twice that size. I think it says something about the way the Bootleggers play, and it says even more about the kind of people we have in this community. They knew the Boots, a bunch of local guys, needed and deserved our support. If you were there Saturday and have thawed out enough, then take a bow, because you certainly deserved it. I'm Brian Smith.